A couple of months ago, I made a video about Ricky Gervais and his New Humanity release. You should have seen it. It got quite good views for one of my videos, that is. Still should have got more, but never mind. Anyway, I'll admit now, it did take a lot for me to say what I did in that video. The flame on my Ricky Gervais fanboy candle has long since burnt out. And I admit now I had quite a few pre-existing opinions before I watched it. And my girlfriend, being one of the few people comfortable not standing for my bullshit, recently challenged me over my somewhat dim views of Ricky Gervais, and I actually found it very hard to explain myself. And it occurred to me afterwards that my main thing is I just fundamentally don't trust the man's motives. As I said in that video, I really enjoyed his first two stand-up DVDs and could kind of relate very well to the person he was presenting himself as. He obviously had a big boost over The Office, but he had never tried stand-up before, so there was a kind of humbleness behind his faux arrogance. And this, at least to me, quite endeared me to him. Well, that and I was a sixth former and therefore very into the mentality of just being as awful as possible. And there was a longish gap between his next two DVDs, Fame and Science, and within this gap he became more successful than he already was. And although there probably was an element of me not wanting to like what's popular, I definitely didn't enjoy these DVDs as much. There was nothing particularly objectionable. They just seemed not quite as good. But as I said, that may have been me. There was a bit in the second of these two DVDs about the word Mong, and that he now feels Mong means idiot and doesn't mean someone with Down syndrome. Now I remember watching this and feeling not completely comfortable, but also thinking, oh well, it's stand-up, I see what you're trying to do. This bit isn't that good, but let's move on. Now, shortly after this, he said the same thing on Twitter. in what seemed to look like a genuine statement of his beliefs rather than a joke. He said that Hmong now means idiot and doesn't mean someone with learning difficulties, or more specifically Down syndrome. Now, I admit this was the moment it all came crashing down for me, and I started to re-evaluate who Gervais was and who I thought he was as a person behind what I thought was a persona, and this made me go off him quite a bit. Now I admit this put me off a subsequent work quite a bit, especially Derek, which I know some people see as a touching and enlightening show, showing what it can be really like in a care home. But I just see it as an immature man putting spaz faces. And fast forward to the recent routine about Caitlyn Jenner. I know some people who genuinely trust Gervais, who see that as a routine about the man confessing his insecurities and unfamiliarities of trans issues, and saying he's worried about dead naming someone. However, I admit I saw that routine as just a crass way to kind of find a way to get away with dead naming a trans person after he's been told he shouldn't, just to wind them up. No, I'm not in a place to admit I'm wrong. A, because I'm arrogant. B, because I genuinely still don't think I am. But it did occur to me, if something happens to a comedian that makes people lose trust in what they say, what can they do to get it back, if anything? Like, this is why I've got absolutely no interest in Louis C.K. now. I used to love the man, but his whole persona was built on the trust. Yes, I'm sharing with you some of the most horrible thoughts I have, but it's okay. You can laugh because you know I wouldn't do them. Then it turned out that wasn't true. He did do those things, so I now feel it's impossible to enjoy his comedy. And I find it quite weird that in a comeback gig he stick to more or less the same kind of stuff he used to do. However, unlike Louis C.K., Ricky Gervais didn't commit a crime or abuse a series of people. He just tried to say a word wasn't offensive, that clearly was. He fucked up, basically. So yeah, the Hmong thing has tarnished your face for me, and probably always will. So, if you are a comedian who walks on the tightrope of being sincere and being just offensive, what happens the times you fall off and fall completely into the just offensive side? I don't know, but perhaps you can't get back on the tightrope and need to change some things, or at least make a public and sincere apology and acknowledgement that you fucked up. Or maybe it's fine just to carry on regardless. But in those instances, you're probably gonna get a couple of people like me who find it hard not to make it cast a big shadow over your work. But what do I know? I'm clearly a snowflake, so who cares?